What would you do if someone embarrassed you in front of a room full of people, and then a stranger suddenly stepped in to defend you? Camila Reyes thought her shift that cold December evening would end just like any other. A few more orders. A quick cleanup. Then home. She had no idea that one cruel moment would turn into the beginning of the most unexpected chapter of her life. Before we continue, take a second to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. If you believe people deserve second chances, share this story with someone who feels the same. The espresso machine released a sharp hiss, sending a cloud of steam into the air. Camila wiped her hands on her apron, unaware that everything around her was about to change. Winter Brew Cafe was buzzing with the kind of holiday rush that always arrived before Christmas. It was chaotic, loud, and strangely comforting at the same time. Steam curled into the air like soft fog. The warm smell of roasted coffee and cinnamon filled the room, wrapping around the customers like a blanket against the cold outside. Camila moved behind the counter with smooth, practiced motions. Her dark hair was tied into a loose bun, though a few stubborn strands had slipped free and framed her face. Large caramel macchiato. Extra shot, she called, sliding the cup across the marble counter. Her voice carried the gentle rhythm of her Colombian roots. Some customers smiled when they heard it. Others made her wish she could simply fade into the background. The afternoon rush was in full swing. People in winter coats and scarves filled the cafe. Laptops were open on nearly every table. Phones buzzed constantly. Everyone looked busy, like they were rushing towards something important. Camila glanced up at the clock. 4:47 p.m. Just a little more than an hour left in her shift. And that's when the door opened. Four young professionals walked in together, dressed in expensive coats, laughing loudly as if the entire place belonged to them. They moved through the cafe like they expected attention. The kind of people who treated service workers as if they were part of the furniture. "Oh wow, look at this place," one of them said. A blonde woman with a perfect smile looked around with exaggerated excitement. So authentic. The way she said authentic made Camila's stomach tighten. The group approached the counter slowly. The blonde leaned forward and studied the menu board with a puzzled expression that looked a little too dramatic to be real. "Excuse me," she said sweetly. "Could you explain what a cortadou is? I'm not sure I understand your pronunciation." Camila felt heat rise into her cheeks. "It's a Spanish coffee drink," she replied softly. "Equal parts espresso and warm milk." "Spanish," the blonde repeated, turning to her friends with a smirk. "I thought this was an American cafe." One of the men beside her chuckled. He was tall, with slicked back hair and a confident smile. "Maybe she's still practicing English," he joked. "Give her some time." The words landed like ice. Camila gripped the edge of the counter, trying to steady her hands. "I speak English just fine," she said quietly. But suddenly the accent on her tongue felt heavier than ever. "Of course you do, sweetheart," the blonde replied. "But maybe stick to simpler words. Not everyone here is a language expert." The group burst into laughter. A few customers nearby turned to watch. Camila felt the heat climb up her neck. Her heart beat faster and faster. She wanted to respond. She wanted to say something strong, something confident. But the words wouldn't come. They were stuck somewhere deep in her throat. And then, suddenly, another voice broke through the noise. "Excuse me." The cafe went still. People turned. Behind the group stood a woman in a long black coat. Her posture was calm, almost effortless, but there was something powerful in the way she held herself. She looked to be in her early 40s. Auburn hair with soft silver strands framed her face, and her eyes carried a quiet intensity. Her name was Elena Hawthorne. Even Camila recognized her. She had seen that face before in business magazines customers sometimes left on the tables. "I couldn't help overhearing," Elena said calmly. "But I have to ask, do you realize how ignorant you sound right now?" The blonde smile faded. I'm sorry, she said stiffly. Do we know you? You don't need to, Elena replied as she stepped closer. But you should understand something. She gestured gently toward Camila. This young woman likely speaks more languages than all of you combined. And she's standing here working hard while serving customers who clearly don't appreciate her effort. The tall man shifted awkwardly. Look, we were just joking, he said. Elena raised an eyebrow. Joking, she repeated. Is that what you call mocking someone's accent? Her voice was calm, but the room seemed to grow quieter with every word. Please explain. No one spoke. The cafe fell silent, like a pause in the middle of a storm. Camila stared at Elena, feeling something unfamiliar in her chest. No one had ever defended her like this before. I think an apology would be appropriate, Elena continued, her gaze steady. And after that, you should probably leave. The blonde's face flushed red. And who exactly do you think you are? She snapped. Elena smiled slightly. But the smile carried no warmth. Someone who believes in basic respect, she said. And judging by this conversation, that seems to be a rare quality in your group. The four of them exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, the tall man muttered a quiet apology that barely reached the counter. Without another word, the group turned and headed for the door. The confidence those four had walked in with was completely gone. Elena watched them leave the cafe, then slowly turned back toward Camila. Her expression had changed. The sharp edge was gone. Now her eyes looked soft, almost concerned. Are you okay? She asked gently. Camila nodded, though she wasn't sure she trusted her voice enough to speak. Her hands were still shaking slightly. What's your name? Elena asked. Camila, she said quietly. Camila, Elena repeated, almost thoughtfully, like the name itself was something pleasant. That's a beautiful name. I'm Elena. I know who you are, Camila blurted out, then instantly wished she hadn't said it. Elena laughed softly, and this time the smile on her face was warm and genuine. Then you probably already know, she said, that I have very little patience for people who bully others. Especially when they pick on someone who's clearly better than them. Something warm spread through Camila's chest. Thank you, she said. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did, Elena replied without hesitation. Everyone deserves basic respect. For a moment, Elena simply looked at her. Not in a judgmental way, but with a quiet focus that made Camila feel both nervous and strangely safe at the same time. Then Elena asked, almost casually, what time do you finish your shift? The question seemed to hang in the air between them. Camila didn't answer right away. It felt like standing at the edge of a bridge, unsure if she should cross. For the 100th time that evening, Camila checked the clock. 5:58 p.m. 2 minutes left. And Elena Hawthorne was sitting at table 7 with a cup of black coffee, pretending to read emails on her phone. The most powerful CEO in the city was waiting for her. Girl, if you stare at that clock any harder, it's going to melt, Marcus said from behind the counter while wiping it down. Just go talk to her. I can't just go talk to her, Camila whispered, pulling off her apron with nervous hands. That's Elena Hawthorne. And you're Camila Reyes, Marcus replied instantly. The woman who makes the best courtier in 3 states and speaks 4 languages. Stop acting like you're less than that. Camila glanced across the cafe again. Elena was wearing a soft cream-colored sweater that probably cost more than Camila earned in a month. But somehow, she still looked completely comfortable sitting in the small cafe. Like she belonged there. The clock clicked to 6 p.m. Right at that moment, Elena looked up. Their eyes met. She smiled. And that simple smile made Camila's carefully built courage feel dangerously fragile. Still, she walked over. Slowly. Her heart was pounding against her ribs like it wanted to escape. Hi, she said awkwardly. Elena smiled wider. Well, hi to you too. She gestured toward the empty chair across from her. Would you mind if I borrowed a few minutes of your time? Camila sat down, suddenly aware of everything. The way Elena held her coffee cup. The faint, clean scent of her perfume. And the way her eyes seemed to look straight through every wall Camila had built. I actually wanted to apologize, Elena said. Camila frowned slightly. For what? For stepping in earlier, Elena explained. I should have asked if you wanted help before I said anything. Camila blinked in surprise. You're apologizing for defending me? I'm apologizing, Elena said gently, for not considering that you might have preferred to handle it yourself. The thoughtfulness of that moment hit Camila harder than she expected. When was the last time someone had cared about her feelings that carefully? I'm glad you stepped in, Camila admitted. Honestly. I just froze. I hate that I froze. Elena leaned forward a little. You didn't freeze, she said calmly. You stayed professional. That's not the same thing. Camila tilted her head slightly. Is it really different? Very different, Elena said without hesitation. You were doing your job while dealing with people who didn't deserve your patience. That takes strength. Something inside Camila slowly began to relax. A tight knot she hadn't even realized was there started to loosen. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Sure. What do you do when you're not making perfect coffee? The question caught Camila off guard. I study business administration, she said after a moment. Mostly online classes. Elena nodded thoughtfully. And what's the dream? Camila hesitated. No one asked her that. Not her coworkers. Not even her family. But something about Elena's calm attention made the answer feel safe. I want to open my own cafe someday, Camila said quietly. A place where coffee tells stories. Elena leaned in slightly, clearly interested. Stories? Different cultures, Camila explained. Colombian coffee. Ethiopian coffee. Turkish coffee. I want people to experience different traditions, different histories, all through one cup. Elena's eyes lit up. That's incredible. Camila looked down at her hands. It probably sounds silly. It doesn't sound silly at all, Elena said firmly. It's brilliant, Elena said, her eyes bright with excitement. And honestly, it's exactly the kind of place this city needs. What started as a simple conversation stretched into nearly an hour. They talked about coffee first. About flavors and traditions. About how the same drink could mean something completely different in different parts of the world. Then the conversation drifted. They talked about dreams. About how the city looked one way when you were rushing to work, and completely different when you slowed down enough to simply walk through it. Elena shared pieces of her life too. She told Camila about growing up in strict boarding schools. About starting her company with almost nothing. About the long nights and difficult decisions it took to build something from the ground up. And quietly, she admitted something else. Success could be lonely. Camila found herself sharing things she rarely talked about. She spoke about her family. About arriving in a new country as a child and learning English by watching American movies with subtitles turned on. She told Elena about her grandmother, who believed coffee wasn't just a drink. It was a way of showing love. I should probably let you go, Elena finally said, glancing at her watch. You might have plans tonight. Camila didn't, really. Her evening was going to be leftover takeout and studying for a marketing exam. But she nodded anyway. Can I ask something? Elena said. For the first time that evening, she seemed slightly unsure. Would it be all right if I stopped by again tomorrow? She paused, then added quickly, for coffee, I mean. Camila felt her heart do a small, unexpected flip. We're open until 8, she said. I'll be here. Elena stood up, gathering her coat. But before leaving, she paused. Camila? Yeah. Those people earlier today, Elena said gently. They were wrong about everything. Camila looked at her, confused. Your accent is beautiful, Elena continued. Your English is perfect. She hesitated just slightly. And you're remarkable. Before Camila could respond, Elena gave her a small smile and headed toward the door. The bell above the entrance rang softly as she left. But the word she'd spoken stayed behind. Remarkable. All the way home, it echoed in Camila's mind. When was the last time anyone had called her that? Later that night, Camila lay on her small apartment bed, staring up at the ceiling. Her mind replayed every moment of the evening. The way Elena listened like every word mattered. The way she asked questions no one else ever thought to ask. And the way she looked at Camila, like she was someone worth noticing. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from her sister Rosa. How was work today? Any cute customers? Camila stared at the screen for a long moment before typing a reply. Something like that. She didn't explain further. She didn't mention that the customer was Elena Hawthorne. She didn't mention the strange little flutter in her stomach whenever Elena smiled. And she definitely didn't mention that she was already counting the hours until tomorrow. Some things felt too new. Too delicate. But as she slowly drifted towards sleep, one thought kept returning. Elena Hawthorne wanted to see her again. And, if she was honest with herself, Camila wanted to see Elena too. The next evening, Elena arrived at exactly 7:15 p.m. Right when Camila had started to wonder if she had imagined the whole conversation. She ordered the same black coffee. Sat at the same table. And waited patiently with that same calm smile until Camila finished her shift. This time, Camila didn't hesitate. As soon as she clocked out, she walked straight over. So, Elena said with a warm smile as Camila sat down. Tell me about your family. It sounded like such a simple question. But something about it opened a door inside Camila that had been closed for years. She started telling stories. About her parents, who had left everything behind in Colombia so their children could have better opportunities. About her father, who worked 2 jobs but still made time every evening to help with homework. About her mother, who cleaned office buildings late at night but still woke up early on Sundays to cook the most amazing arepas. They sacrificed so much, Camila said quietly. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough to make it worth it. Elena stayed silent for a moment. What makes you think that? She asked. Camila shrugged slightly. I'm 26 and still working behind a coffee counter. My sister Rosa is studying to be a nurse. My brother Miguel just got promoted at the bank. She gestured around the cafe. And I'm here. Elena leaned forward, her voice steady. You're here building your dream one step at a time. Camila looked up. You're working full-time while studying business, Elena continued. You're supporting yourself. You're helping your family. She shook her head gently. That isn't failure, Camila. That's courage. The way Elena said it made the words feel real. Like maybe, just maybe, they were true. Camila took a breath. What about you? She asked softly. Do you have family? For a brief moment, something shifted in Elena's expression. Not really, she said. My parents died when I was young. A car accident. Her voice stayed calm, but there was something carefully controlled beneath it. My grandmother raised me after that, Elena continued. She passed away while I was in college. I'm sorry, Camila said quietly. It was a long time ago, Elena replied. I learned pretty early that the only person you can truly rely on is yourself. Camila studied her face. That sounds lonely. Elena looked almost surprised. As if no one had ever said that to her before. It can be, she admitted after a moment. But it's also safe. Safe from what? Camila asked. Elena gave a small, thoughtful breath. From disappointment, she said. From people walking away. She looked down at her coffee cup. From caring too deeply about someone who might not stay. The honesty in her voice made Camila's chest ache. Is that why you work so much? Camila asked softly. Elena tilted her head. And how exactly do you know I work too much? Camila smiled a little. Because it's 7:30 on a Tuesday night, and you're sitting in a cafe talking to a barista instead of attending some elegant business dinner. Elena laughed. The sound was warm and easy, like music drifting through the quiet cafe. Fair point, she admitted. Yes. I probably work too much. Why? Elena shrugged lightly. It's easier than other things. Like what? Elena gestured between them. Like this. Camila frowned slightly. This? Sitting here, Elena said. Talking to someone who makes me forget about board meetings and quarterly reports. The air between them shifted. Something unspoken filled the small space at the table. Neither of them said the word, but both of them felt it. After a moment, Camila spoke carefully. Elena, why are you really here? For a long time, Elena didn't answer. Camila almost thought she wouldn't. But then Elena exhaled quietly. Her voice, when she spoke, was barely louder than a whisper. Because yesterday, when those people were treating you that way, something inside me snapped. She paused, searching for the right words. And then you looked at me. You said thank you. Elena looked down at her hands for a second. Since then, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. Camila's heart seemed to stop, and then start again twice as fast. I know this sounds crazy, Elena continued. I know we come from completely different worlds. She let out a soft breath. And I know the logical thing would be for me to walk away. Let you live your life without some overworked CEO complicating everything. She looked up again. But for some reason, I can't make myself do that. The silence that followed felt heavy. Honest. Almost fragile. Camila swallowed. I thought about you too, she admitted quietly. Elena blinked. You did? All day, Camila said. I kept looking at the door, hoping you'd come back. Elena's smile softened in a way Camila had never seen before. Really? Really? Elena shook her head slowly. This is probably a terrible idea. Probably, Camila agreed. I'm not good at this, Elena admitted. Relationships, I mean. I understand spreadsheets much better than feelings. Camila laughed softly. Well, I'm better with coffee than whatever this situation is. So we're both a little lost, Elena said. Looks like it. They both sat there for a moment. So what do we do? Elena asked. Camila hesitated, then slowly reached across the table. Her fingers brushed Elena's hand. The contact sent a small spark racing up her arm. Maybe, Camila said quietly, we figure it out together. Elena turned her hand over, gently threading her fingers through Camila's. I'd like that. For a while they just sat there. Two women from completely different lives, holding hands across a small cafe table. Something unexpected had found them. Can I tell you something? Camila asked. Anything. When I was little, my grandmother used to say that the best things in life appear when you're not looking for them. Elena listened closely. She said they arrive quietly, Camila continued. Like the sunrise. You don't notice it happening, and then suddenly everything is brighter. Elena squeezed her hand gently. Your grandmother sounds very wise. She was. Camila smiled faintly. She also used to say that love doesn't care about money, or addresses, or social circles. Elena's voice dropped to a whisper. Is that what this is? Camila looked at her. Love? The word hung between them. Too big. Too early. Too real. Camila felt her breath catch. She didn't know the answer yet. But looking into Elena's eyes, seeing the mix of hope and fear there, she couldn't lie. I don't know, she whispered. But it feels like it might be. Elena lifted their joined hands and gently pressed a kiss against Camila's knuckles. Then let's find out, she said softly. 3 days later, a photo appeared online. Camila was restocking pastries in the display case when her phone began buzzing non-stop. Messages. Notifications. Alerts. It wouldn't stop. Hey, you should probably see this, Marcus said, walking over quickly. He turned his phone toward her. The picture was blurry, clearly taken from outside the cafe window. But it was unmistakable. Elena's auburn hair. Camila's dark ponytail. They were sitting at their usual table. Elena's hand resting over Camila's. Both of them laughing about something. The caption above the photo read, CEO Elena Hawthorne spotted getting cozy with local barista. New romance, or charity case? Camila felt her stomach drop. How many people have seen this? She asked quietly. Marcus refreshed the post. Over 12,000 likes already, he said. And it's being shared everywhere. At that moment, the cafe door chimed. Camila looked up, hoping, just for a second, that it might be Elena. Instead, 3 women walked in wearing expensive workout outfits. Their phones were already out. Oh my gosh, one whispered loudly. That's her. The barista. Camila felt heat rush into her face. She moved behind the espresso machine, but there was nowhere to hide. Her phone rang. Elena. Camila answered. Camila, Elena said quickly. I just saw the post. I know. Her voice felt tight. Everyone's seeing it. I'm so sorry, Elena said. I should have been more careful. It's not your fault, Camila replied. But even as she said it, the pressure around her felt heavier. I have to go, she said quickly. Customers are here. She ended the call before Elena could answer. The rest of the shift felt endless. Customers whispered. Some pointed. Some were kind and quietly asked if she was okay. Others weren't. A few joked about gold diggers and social climbing. By closing time, Camila felt completely drained. Like every part of her had been exposed. When she locked the cafe doors, Elena was standing outside. We need to talk, Elena said. They walked quietly toward Camila's car. The weight of the day hung between them. I'm sorry, Elena said finally. I never wanted this to happen to you. I know. My publicist says it will fade in a few days, Elena added. Something else will happen and people will move on. Camila leaned against her car. Will they? Elena looked at her. Because I don't think your world works like that, Camila said quietly. People like me will always be interesting to them. Elena frowned slightly. People like you? You know what I mean. No, Elena said. Explain it. Camila sighed. Elena, you're incredibly wealthy. You live in a penthouse. You probably have a driver. She gestured toward herself. I live in a tiny apartment and take the bus to work. This was always going to be complicated. Only if we decide it is, Elena replied. It's not about deciding, Camila said, her voice cracking. It's about reality. She looked away. Your board probably isn't excited about their CEO dating a barista. You are not just a barista, Elena said firmly. You're smart and talented, Anne. I serve coffee, Camila said quietly. Her eyes filled with tears. There's nothing wrong with that. But your world doesn't see it the same way. They stood there in silence. The distance between them suddenly felt enormous. So what are you saying? Elena asked. Maybe we should slow down, Camila whispered. Before everything becomes harder. Harder than caring about each other? Yes. The word broke out like a sob. Because caring about each other won't matter if it destroys both of our lives. Elena stared at her. And Camila could see the exact moment something inside her closed. All right, Elena said finally. Her voice was calm, distant. If that's what you want. It's not what I want, Camila whispered. It's what makes sense. Of course, Elena replied quietly. We wouldn't want to be impractical. She turned to leave. After a few steps, she stopped. Without looking back, she spoke one more time. For what it's worth. I believed what we had was worth fighting for. A pause. But maybe I was wrong. Then she walked away into the night. Camila stood alone in the parking lot. Her practical decision felt heavy in her chest. That night, she lay in bed staring at Elena's contact on her phone. She typed messages. Deleted them. Typed again. Nothing felt right. Eventually she turned the phone off and cried until she fell asleep, wondering why doing the responsible thing hurt so much. Across the city, Elena sat alone in her penthouse office. She stared out at the glowing skyline. And wondered when trying to protect someone had started to feel exactly like losing them. 2 weeks passed. Slowly. Painfully. Like watching a quiet disaster unfold in slow motion. Elena buried herself in work with a determination that surprised even her most dedicated employees. 18-hour days. Weekend meetings. Conference calls that stretched past midnight. Anything that kept her mind busy. Anything that stopped her from thinking about dark eyes, and a quiet laugh that had somehow taken root in her memory. The problem was, it wasn't working. You look terrible, her assistant David said one morning, setting a fresh cup of coffee on her desk. Elena barely glanced up from her laptop. When's the last time you actually went home? He asked. Elena gestured vaguely around the office. I am home. David folded his arms. Right. That explains why you've been staring at the Winter Brew Cafe website for the last hour. Elena immediately slammed her laptop shut. I was researching local businesses for the community outreach program. Sure you were, David said, completely unconvinced. He leaned against the desk. Elena, just call her. There's nothing to call about, she replied quickly. We both agreed it was better this way. Did you? David asked. Or did you both panic and run in opposite directions? Before Elena could answer, her phone buzzed. David glanced at the screen after answering. The board wants to see you, he said carefully. Conference room A right now. Elena felt her stomach tighten. Unscheduled board meetings were never a good sign. When she walked into the conference room, 5 serious faces were already waiting. Richard Blackwood, the chairman of the board, didn't bother with small talk. Elena, he said, we need to discuss your recent publicity. She remained standing. What about it? The photograph of you with that cafe employee has raised several concerns, he replied. Elena felt a chill run through her. What kind of concerns? Margaret Chen, the longest-serving board member, spoke next. Concerns about your judgment, she said calmly. And about your ability to maintain the professional image this company expects. My personal life has nothing to do with my performance as CEO. Doesn't it? Richard said, leaning forward. You represent this company, Elena. When you're photographed behaving casually with service staff, it reflects on all of us. The tone of his voice made Elena's stomach twist. We were having coffee, she said firmly. That's hardly a scandal. Margaret spoke again, her voice blunt. It makes you look desperate. Elena stood up so quickly her chair rolled backward. Excuse me? Sit down, Elena, Richard said sharply. We're not finished. Yes, we are, she replied, her voice quiet but sharp. Because if you believe you can control who I spend time with in my personal life, you're mistaken. We're not controlling anything, Richard said smoothly. We're simply advising you to consider the optics. It might be wise to distance yourself from this situation. Elena's eyes flashed. This situation has a name, she said. Camila Reyes. Her voice grew stronger. And she's worth more than the approval of anyone sitting in this room. The entire table fell silent. Margaret finally spoke again. Elena, you're clearly emotionally involved. Perhaps you should take time to reconsider what matters most. I already know what matters, Elena replied. And it isn't your approval. Without another word, she turned and walked out. 5 stunned board members watched the door close behind her. But once Elena returned to her office, the reality of what had just happened settled heavily on her shoulders. She had just challenged the board. The same people who had the power to remove her. The same people who could dismantle everything she had spent years building. All for a woman who had already walked away. Her phone rang again. It was David. Elena, he said carefully, Richard just called me. And? There's an emergency board meeting tomorrow morning. Elena closed her eyes. They're discussing a vote of no confidence. The words sat in the air like a storm cloud. I see, Elena said quietly. What do you want me to do? David asked. Nothing. She looked out the window at the city lights below. There's nothing to do. She ended the call. For a long moment, she simply stared at the skyline, feeling more alone than she had since she was 18 years old and standing beside her grandmother's grave. Across the city, Camila was facing her own crisis. Since the photo went viral, Winter Brew Cafe had been busier than ever. But not in a good way. People came in just to look at her. Some whispered. Some stared. Some tried to secretly take photos. It felt less like a workplace, and more like a display. At first, her manager Janet had been patient. But after 2 weeks of constant attention, distracted staff, and customers more interested in gossip than coffee, that patience had started to fade. Camila, we need to talk, Janet said after the afternoon rush. They sat in the small back office. Boxes of coffee beans were stacked along the walls, and the faint smell of vanilla syrup hung in the air. Janet didn't hesitate. I'm going to have to let you go. Camila blinked. For a moment, she thought she had misheard. What? Janet sighed. This situation with the CEO, it's affecting the whole cafe. She rubbed her forehead. Customers aren't coming here for coffee anymore. She looked at Camila sadly. They're coming for the drama. My staff is distracted, Janet continued gently. This just isn't sustainable. Camila felt her chest tighten. But I didn't do anything wrong, she said quietly. I know, Janet replied with a tired sigh. And I'm sorry. I really am. But I have to think about the business. That was it. A simple conversation. A few sentences. And just like that, Camila's job was gone. She walked out of Winter Brew Cafe for the last time with her final paycheck in her hand. The paper felt strangely heavy, like it carried more meaning than it should. That night she sat alone in her small apartment, staring at her laptop screen. Her bank account balance blinked back at her. $847. Rent was due in 2 weeks. Her online classes cost $300 every month. The numbers didn't add up. She had lost her job because of Elena Hawthorne. Because she had been foolish enough to believe that something beautiful might actually happen to someone like her. Her phone buzzed on the table. A message from Rosa. Saw the news about Elena's board meeting. Are you okay? Camila frowned. What news? She opened a search page and typed Elena's name. The headline appeared immediately. Hawthorne Industries CEO faces board revolt after public romance scandal. Camila felt her heart drop. The article was ruthless. It described Elena as reckless. Distracted. A leader who had allowed her personal life to damage the company's reputation. Camila read every line. And with each paragraph, the guilt grew heavier. This was her fault. Elena was losing everything because of her. Before she could think too much about it, Camila grabbed her phone and dialed. The call connected after 2 rings. Camila. Elena's voice sounded rough. Tired. Like she hadn't slept. I saw the news, Camila said quietly. Elena. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. Yes, it is, Camila insisted. If I hadn't been so scared, if I hadn't walked away instead of fighting for us. Stop, Elena said firmly. Camila fell silent. You were right, Elena continued more quietly. We come from different worlds. I should have listened to you. No, Camila whispered. I was wrong. I panicked. I ran away. And now you're paying for it. I'm an adult, Elena replied. I made my own choices. For a moment, neither of them spoke. So many words remained unsaid. Finally, Camila took a breath. I lost my job today. Elena's voice changed instantly. What? Janet fired me, Camila said. She said the attention was too disruptive for the cafe. There was silence. Long enough that Camila wondered if the call had dropped. Elena? I'm here, Elena said quietly. I'm just processing. A pause. Camila. I'm so sorry. This is all because of me. No, Camila replied softly. It's just life. Sometimes things fall apart. They both laughed a little. But the sound was fragile. Almost like tears. So what do we do now? Camila asked. Elena exhaled slowly. I don't know, she admitted. Honestly. I don't know. Across the city, Elena sat in her office staring at a single sheet of paper. Her resignation letter. Her pen hovered just above the signature line. It would be easy. Sign her name. Walk away. Let the board find someone safer. Someone predictable. Someone who never stepped outside the lines. Someone who didn't fall for a barista with kind eyes and a dream bigger than the cafe she worked in. Her phone buzzed. A message from David appeared on the screen. Don't you dare sign that letter. Elena looked up. David stood in the doorway with his arms crossed, wearing the most stubborn expression she had ever seen. How did you know? She asked. I know you, he replied. And I know that look. The one where you start thinking about giving up. Maybe I should, Elena said quietly. Maybe they're right. Maybe I've lost focus. David walked straight to her desk and picked up the letter. This is nonsense, he said. David. No, listen to me, he interrupted. You've spent 15 years building this company. You tripled their profits. Expanded into 6 markets. Created thousands of jobs. He placed the paper back down. And now they want to push you out because you fell in love. I never said I was in love, Elena muttered. You didn't have to, David replied. I've never seen you light up the way you did when you talked about her. Elena leaned back in her chair, exhausted. It doesn't matter, she said. She doesn't want this. Did she actually say that? David raised an eyebrow. Or did she get scared when the whole world started judging her for caring about you? Elena didn't answer. Before she could, her computer made a soft chime. A new email had arrived. She glanced at the screen. Then she froze. I love the way you see the good in people, even when they haven't really earned it yet. I love how you keep chasing your dreams, even when the world tells you they're too big. Tears slipped down Camila's cheeks. I love you too, she whispered. I tried not to. I really tried. But I can't. Elena gently reached for her hand. Then let's stop pretending, she said softly. Let's be brave together. Camila hesitated. What about the board? Elena let out a small breath and shook her head. Forget the board. If they can't handle me being happy, then they don't deserve me. Camila laughed through her tears. Did Elena Hawthorne really just say that? Elena smiled, a little wild, a little fearless. She did. And she's about to say a lot worse if you don't kiss her right now. Camila leaned forward. Their lips met softly at first, then with more certainty. It tasted like tears, like relief, like the beginning of something real. When they finally pulled apart, Elena glanced at her watch. I have to go face the board, she said. What are you going to tell them? Camila asked. Elena stood, straightening her coat and lifting her chin. The truth, she said. That love isn't a weakness. That you make me stronger, not weaker. And if they can't understand that, then maybe they're not the kind of people I want to work for. She leaned down and kissed Camila again, quick but full of promise. Wish me luck. Camila smiled. You don't need luck, she said. You're Elena Hawthorne. Elena grinned. Exactly. Elena walked into the boardroom like someone walking into a fight she had already decided not to lose. 5 board members sat around the long polished table. Some looked disappointed. Others looked openly angry. At the head sat Richard Blackwood, calm and stern, like a judge ready to deliver a verdict. Elena, he said flatly. I assume you've had time to think about our conversation yesterday. I have, Elena replied. She stayed standing, hands calmly clasped behind her back. And I've made a decision. Excellent, Richard said. I assume you brought the resignation letter. I did. Elena pulled a sheet of paper from her briefcase and held it up. But I'm not signing it. The room went completely silent. Instead, Elena continued calmly. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about your ultimatum. She tore the letter in half. For 15 years, she said, her voice steady, I've given everything to this company. My time, my energy, my personal life. I missed birthdays. Holidays. Moments that matter. She let the pieces of paper fall onto the table. And I did it because I believed success required sacrifice. Margaret Chun shifted slightly in her chair. Elena, perhaps this discussion should. I'm not finished. Her voice was calm but sharp enough to cut through the room. 2 weeks ago, I met someone who reminded me that life is bigger than stock prices and quarterly reports. She paused. Someone who works harder than anyone I know. Someone who dreams bigger than most people dare. Richard's expression darkened. This is completely inappropriate. You want to talk about inappropriate? Elena said. Trying to control who someone cares about. Acting like compassion makes a leader weak. Looking down on someone simply because she didn't grow up with money. Elena slowly walked around the table, meeting each pair of eyes. Camila Reyes is brilliant, she said firmly. She speaks 4 languages. She's already designing a business plan that could transform the coffee industry. And she has the kind of determination that built companies like this one from the ground up. Richard's face had turned red. Elena, he said stiffly. You're clearly emotional. Of course I am, she replied without hesitation. I'm in love. The words hung in the air. And if my happiness somehow makes you question my leadership, she continued, then maybe the problem isn't me. She stopped at the head of the table and faced them all. So here's my answer. I'm not resigning. I'm not apologizing. And I'm not hiding my relationship just to make you comfortable. She folded her arms lightly. If you want to fire me, go ahead. You'll be firing the CEO who tripled your profits and expanded this company into multiple new markets. You'll be firing the woman who turned this business into an industry leader. The room was so quiet the low hum of the air conditioning seemed loud. And if you do fire me, Elena added with a calm smile, I'll start my own company. And I'll build it with the woman I love standing beside me. She picked up her briefcase and turned toward the door. Elena, wait. Margaret's voice was hesitant now. Perhaps, we moved too quickly. Elena slowly turned back. Perhaps you were, Elena said, voice steady, but I'm done caring about your approval. I'm done living my life according to your comfort level. I'm going to go build something beautiful with someone I love, and you can either support that or get out of my way. She walked out, leaving 5 stunned board members in her wake. Her phone buzzed before she even reached the elevator. David, holy expletive, Elena. The whole office heard that. You're trending on Twitter. Good or bad? She asked, already knowing the answer. Are you kidding? You're a freaking hero. Love Wins is trending worldwide. Elena laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. David, clear my schedule for the rest of the day. Where are you going? He asked. To find my girlfriend and start planning our future. She found Camila at the park, pacing by the pond like a caged tiger. How did it go? Camila rushed over. I may have just quit my job in the most spectacular way possible, Elena said, grinning. Camila's eyes went wide. What? Elena pulled out her phone and showed her the Twitter feed. Videos of her walking out of the building were already going viral, along with live-tweeted quotes from her speech. Elena Hawthorne just told her board that love isn't weakness. I'm crying. Love wins. CEO chooses love over money. This is the energy we need in 2024. If you can't see her value, that's your failure, not hers. Iconic power couple. Camila stared at the screen, then at Elena. You did this for me. I did this for us, Elena said. For the future we could have if we're brave enough to fight for it. Camila threw her arms around Elena's neck, kissing her like the world was ending and beginning all at once. I love you, she whispered. I love you so much it scares me. Good, Elena whispered back. Love should be a little scary. It means it matters. Her phone rang again. David. Elena, you need to get back here. The board just called an emergency meeting. They want to offer you a new contract. Elena looked at Camila, who was grinning like Christmas morning. Tell them I'll consider it, Elena said, but I have some conditions. She winked at Camila. I'll need funding for a new community outreach program, something involving local coffee shops and small business development. Camila breathed. And I'll need a new consultant on the project, Elena continued. Someone who understands coffee culture and has big dreams about bringing communities together. Camila's tears sparkled in the sunlight. I think I know someone perfect for the job, Elena said into the phone, never taking her eyes off Camila. 6 months later, Camila stood in the doorway of her new cafe, watching Elena hang the grand opening banner. Café Corazon was everything she dreamed of and more: warm wood, soft lighting, the scent of coffee from 6 different countries, a place where cultures met over shared cups and shared stories. You know, Elena said, stepping back to admire their work. When I first walked into Winter Brew, I was just looking for coffee. And instead, you found me, Camila said, wrapping her arms around Elena's waist. Best mistake I ever made. Hey, Camila protested. I'm not a mistake. You're right, Elena said, smiling. You're a miracle. They kissed as the first customers began lining up outside, drawn by the promise of something new and beautiful. Ready? Elena asked. Camila looked around at everything they'd built together, the cafe, their love, their future stretching bright and infinite. Ready, she said. They opened the doors together, hand in hand, hearts full of hope and coffee, and the kind of love that changes everything. And if you believe in second chances, in love that conquers fear, and in dreams that come true when you're brave enough to fight for them, share this story with someone who needs to remember that fairy tales can happen to anyone, even baristas who dare to love CEOs. And CEOs who choose love over everything else. Because sometimes the best stories start with a simple cup of coffee and end with a love that changes the world.